All right, let's come to another section which is very important as well. I need you guys' attention as well because I don't want neither of you to get confused. All right, once we get here, there is a place where we can assign or we can create a VLAN. Let's create a VLAN. I would say VLAN 2, VLAN 10, VLAN 10, name HR. I create a one VLAN by the name of HR. Save. I want to create another VLAN. Let's say that was 10. It's going to be 20. It's belong to IT. So VLAN 20 is belong to IT department. I need you guys' attention here. Let's create another VLAN. 10, 20, 30 belong to finance. Sorry, finance. Belong to finance department. Save it. So probably the question comes to your mind as what is batch add VLAN? If I click on batch add VLAN, what I will do in here is, let's say VLAN 40. Save. If you guys notice in here, there is a difference between add a VLAN and batch add a VLAN. So with the 40, with the batch add a VLAN, we are not allowed to name the VLAN, but with the add VLAN, we are allowed to what? Name the VLAN as well, in order to specify which VLAN is belong to which department or belong to whatever you name it. I want to click this one and I say batch delete. Confirm. So now this is how you can delete the VLAN as well. I'm going to come to the trunk port. Guys, if you notice in here, neither of my ports are trunk in here. It shows 0. I would say that port 23, 24, even if I want to connect the fiber connection, I would say 23, 24, 25, 26 as a trunk port. So one thing you should keep in your mind in here, native VLAN, I would say native VLAN, VLAN 1. Allow VLAN. If you don't assign anything, means the entire VLAN is allowed. It is a kind of security purpose, guys. Allow VLAN is a good feature. I love this feature. Let me save this one. All right. Once I save in here, what happened is, as you notice in here, that is Giga 0/23, 0/24, 0/25, 0/26 is a member of Trine, and the native VLAN is number 1. All right. I would say VLAN 10, 20, 30, 40 is allowed, but the rest, if you see any VLAN, don't allow. Again, I would say 23, 24, 25, 26. Save. Beautiful. Successfully saved. So allow VLAN means VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, VLAN 40 between these two switches, because trunk is designed to connect this switch to another switch. This is a trunk. They're accepting multi VLAN. Any VLAN is inside. But now I specified, I said no, don't accept any VLAN. You're allowed to just listen VLAN number 10, 20, 30, and 40. This is the concept of allow VLAN. And native VLAN is like do not encapsulate any request come from VLAN 1. Do not encapsulate it. Take it as access port. It is do not get confused, but the main purpose of native VLAN is like VLAN 1 is native VLAN. I mean, do not encapsulate it. Don't put it in the trunk. It is in the trunk, but make a separate communication between two devices, because whenever I want to access any of my devices in the network, the one which is come with the VLAN 1, and VLAN 1 is a native VLAN, and I should able to communicate with those devices as well. If it is trunk, you're not, but you have to specify your native VLAN as well. Okay, I save it. This is the concept of the VLANing and trunking. All right, let's come to the port. When we come to the port, there is another important things as well, guys. There is a two types of port that we can assign in here. We can assign a port L3 port, and we can assign or create a L2 port as well. Let's say I want to create, if you look at in here, VLAN 1, remember that. This is VLAN 1, this is native VLAN. I say native VLAN, if I want to configure this switch, do not touch anything, do not touch VLAN 1, and that's my management VLAN. Add this VI VLAN. All right, this is the one, and I would say range VLAN 10. IP address should be 192.168.10.1. And of course the subnet mask not IP version 6. I am going to save the configuration. Here is a spot where I can save the configuration. All right, I save it. So what I have done in here, I say that, hey, VLAN number 10, IP address is 192.168.10.1. It's totally different network. And let's create another SVI VLAN. I say 20. VLAN 20, range of IP is 192.168.20.1. Subnet mask is 255. I don't have IP version 6. Let's save it. All right. So this is how you can assign IP for each range of VLAN that you want. For example, for VLAN 10, I have 10.1. For VLAN 20, I have 20.1. And how many VLANs I have overall? I have VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30. I want to create another one. Batch is almost the same thing. Batch with the come with a description. Let's say VLAN 40. It is access port. It's not the trunk, and the description is this is just testing. This is just testing. Let's save it. Okay, please select the port. Okay, I would say port number which port I have 6, 5 and 6. Save. So port number 5 and 6 is what happened is with port number 5 and 6, this is just testing, and these ports are member of VLAN 40. So what I have done is I just add a batch add. Let's say I want to create another one. This is VLAN number 30. IP address 192.168.30.1. Subnet mask 255.255.255.0. All right, this is how you can create a multi VLAN using different IPs as well. You cannot use the same IP because that is the main purpose of VLAN, to isolate the network, the broadcast domain between one another. All right, so far, if you look at in here, you can easily find out the port number 1 is up, everything is okay, it's not shut down. You can turn off the port in case if you want. Let's create in here, I would say not needed to use. No, or say not for used. Not for used. Um, let's say VLAN, we can create not use. It's very secure as well. It's very secure as well. Let's say these are access. I would say 13, 14, 16, 17, 17, 18, save. So what we have done in here is that, just give me 1 second. All right, if you look at in here, port number 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 is not in use. But we forgot to do one thing. Remember that we forgot to do one thing. Let's say, yeah, this is the thing that we forgot to click down. VLAN 100 not used, not in used, down. It was 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, save. Okay, let's come to the what we have done in here so far. If you look at in here, I say down, means if no one is using this port, keep it down. If I connect anything in this port right now, port number 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, I am not going to access and This port is down. This is how you can shut down the port. So we learned how to batch the port and how we can add SVI VLAN using IP address. Aggregate port. What is aggregate port? Guys, if you are familiar about the aggregate port, is almost ether channel. We have aggregate port based on layer 3, and we have an aggregate port based on layer 2. Layer 2 is based on IP address. Layer 2 is based on MAC address. Let's say aggregate port number 10. Don't forget that. Just I need your attention in here. I said port number 19 and 20, 21, 22, 19, 20, 21, 22. What I mean in here, I said create aggregate port. Beautiful. Show me now in here if I have an aggregate port. There is an aggregate port which is number 10. So the question is, what is aggregate port? If I want to connect, here's the thing. If I want to connect switch number 1 to switch number 1 to switch number 2, switch 1 and switch 2. If I want to connect this switch to this switch, either I can use fiber connection, or I can use 4 copper connection using this way. So the question, as you would say, hey, there's gonna be a confliction, they're gonna be overlapping, there will be a lot of issue, there's gonna be noise in our network. This is not. This for port 19, 20, 21, 22 is aggregate port. It is a ether channel. With the Cisco we called ether channel, but with the FS company we called aggregate port. So this 4 port, if I connect copper to 19, 20, 21, yeah, 20, 21, 22 to another switch to 19, 20, 21, 22, and identify this switch as an aggregate port, what does it mean? Mean these port. Now I'm not using this port for any other purpose, because this is a bundle switch. This is a bundle cable. This is a bundle cable. They're communicating with one another using one port. The good thing in here is, like, let's say that I have a 100 based on the speed. Let's say this is an example. For 19, I have 100 Mbps, 20, 100 Mbps, 21, 100 Mbps, 2200 Mbps. If I combine this one, how many Mbps I will get? 400 Mbps. Now these are gigabit. These are gigabit Ethernet. I will get 4 gigabit Ethernet through 4 connection. I use these 4. I use this 4 connection using one single port. It's just one connection. So the question is how we can configure aggregate port L3. Click on L3. L3 is based on IP address. Before it was only just name, but now I want to say, like, hey, let's say 192.168.168.1, and the mask is 255.255.255.0. My switch aggregate port based on layer 3, the IP address is 192.168.168.168. And here I would say that, let's say 17 and 18 as aggregated port. Save. You will see what's in here. Okay, I have to name it, let's say 200. I wish I can. No, it's too much. I think it should be 128. Yes, 128. Let's say 100. 168. 168. Very common IP. Very common ID. Sorry, 128 is the minimum. The maximum. Which number? 101. There you go. 101. 101. So I just want to have very common ID. All right. How many aggregate port I have? I have 2. One is number 10. Number 10 is connect to, look at in here. You can easily find out. Number 10 is 19, 20, 21, 22. And I have another aggregate port, which is layer 3. That is 101. And the port is 17, 18. Means if I connect 17 and 18 of this port to another switch, I can use this 2 bundle network switch as a one single network. Port monitoring. So if I come to the port monitoring, what I'm going to do is I would say that, hey, session 1. I would say session 1. I need your attention. It's very easy. It's very simple. I would say that all packet. Monitoring, you want to inbound packet, outbound packet. Which kind of packet you want to monitor? You want to analysis. Do you have any? If you have any vulnerability tools, including Wireshark, it's very common. If you have Wireshark, you need this feature. You really need this feature. If you don't have this feature, you cannot grab any information because it's very hard. You have to point something to target one port and send it to information to another port. Right now, I need your attention. I see like, hey, port number one, port number two. Port number one, port number two is the source. I mean, if anything happened with this port, let's say port number one, my port number one is connected to the ISP, internet service provider, and port number two is connected to the firewall. I'd say, hey, you know what? I want to track and I want to keep my eyes in this port. And the switch will ask you, hey, where do you want this information? Do you want an all port? Where do you want this information? I say, I want this information on port number three. Save. Let me explain it in here. Session one in here, one session one. What I explain in here, like if anything is going on, let's say something is wrong with the port number one is connected to the internet service provider and port number two is connected to my gateway, to my router. And I say, hey, I want to keep my eyes on these two ports. I want to see what is going on. So what this switch do right now is this switch is grabbing whatever is going on inside this, whatever is going on inside these ports will automatically matter to port number three. Now what I'm going to do is I will connect my vulnerability tools Wireshark to port number three. So port number three, as you can see, whatever is going on port number one and port number two, it's like mirroring. The source is port number one and port number two, and the destination is port number three. Port number three is your Wireshark port. Remember that. Here is where you can find whatever information you're needing. Let's say rate limit. Here we can rate limit as well. Let's say add a patch. I would say port number four, since port number four is connected to my guest network, and I would say it's based on kilobit per second. I would say 1024 kilobits is 1 MB. Let's say 124 is 1 MB. Let's see what we have done in here. I see that port number four, track it. This is how you can assign a bandwidth. For example, if you see at home you're using this switch, everything is connected to the well, everything is fine, but you see that the switch which is connected to your kids room, they're using a lot of internet. They are using game and any purpose. They are like over over using the internet. So here is the place where you can specify the bandwidth. Or if you're in a small building, giving and assigning internet for the other peoples as well is very important. And they ask like, hey, give me 1 MB, give me 2 MB, give me 3 MB, give me 100 MB. Here is the place where you can specify the rate, the speed of that specific port. This is how you can configure that one. All right, you can delete it as well, but I will keep it. All right, let's talk about PoE, Power over Ethernet. Okay, I have, I can say FS Company Power over Ethernet, one of the beautiful Wi-Fi, which is Wi-Fi 6 as well. I'm going to connect this one to my network switch. This is Power over Ethernet. These two are belong to one another. This is also FS Company and the switch is also FS Company. These peoples are beautiful. I really like the way they designed the network stuff. I'm so happy as well. Okay, I just plugged this one to port number 7, guys. Port number 7. I just configured this one to port number 7. Let's see what is going on in port number 7. Port number 7. I just plugged port number 7. Let's see if it's automatically getting on. All right, if you look at in here, it is green now because my access point light is green as well. If you can see that right now, guys, it is green. This is power over Ethernet. I will leave it here. One thing you should keep in your mind as a captive person, make sure to the more distance that you have from Wi-Fi device, is better will be. All right, here's the thing. As a reality check that it is not off by default since no one is using it, this is how you can see that is it connected or not. If I go to the page number 3, neither of device is connected to either power over Ethernet except port number 7, the one which is connected to my access point. All right, let's say patch ID. Enable, I can say disable, default is keep it default. So here's the place where you can specify the watts. Remember that. I've seen some of the power over Ethernet devices that come with a specific watt. If it is too much, you will burn that device. You will, of course, uh, messed up with that device. That's what you have to make sure. So far, I knew that this access point does come with a 59 watt. So I pick it and I accept it and I say let's connect it. So I don't have any issue with this one right now. All right. If I say disable and I will say number 7 and let's say save. All right, guys, look at the access point right now. There is no light. There's a light. No, there's no light. Why there is no light? If any one of you know that, because we just disabled this port. We said no, we don't want this port to provide Ethernet. Sorry, to provide power over Ethernet. Remember that. This is a global setting. For the global setting, this is a general, like overall. Um, you can keep it enabled. You can power save as well. But this is a general. If you implement this one, it implement the entire things. But this is the place where you can do the PV power over Ethernet. Let's say port number 7. Where are you? If I click on port number 7, I would say, you know what? Make it enable. Keep it low. And the range is no worry. Keep it as default. Save. Let's see what's going to happen because I just disconnect and I want to connect the wireless access point using power over Ethernet feature. This is how you can enable, disable, specify the range of the thing. So far it is off. We have to wait and watch. Let's refresh the page. All right, now gigabit Ethernet 0/7 is on again because we turn it on and off. Here's the place we can turn off and on. Just click in here. If you want it on, if you want to make it high, critical, default, whatever you want to do it, you can keep it. But so far, this is what it is. Close. All right, SSH. Here's the place where we can configure SSH. One thing you should keep in your mind is that never, ever, ever, ever try to use Telnet. There was a portion by Telnet. The reason that explain how you can configure Telnet is that this is what it is. But uh, my aim was to see how you can configure Telnet. But my goal is not you guys to use Telnet. This is how you can use SSH. Let's say SSH. All right, what version of SSH you are using? Version 2, the more secure one. The authentication timeout is, let's say, 100, and the range is 5, the more secure. Save. Beautiful. We're gonna leave this stuff one by one. Let's SSH this switch. I want to SSH this switch. All right, there you go. Okay, MD5 username is the same username. Beautiful. This is how I can configure and access SSH. I enable SSH and I'm able to configure. So it is by default it's enabled. Don't worry about this one because we just specify and save it. Show running config. Excuse me, this is the configuration. Okay, this was how we can configure the SSH. So you have to download it and you have to make sure. If I want to configure, let's say I want to generate RSA. Let's create the RSA. This is the RSA generate. This is the key. If this is the, because if you look at in here, if I want to do the SSH, it automatically assign the certificate for for the client that want to access or log into this specific switch using SSH. So in case if SSH key is you don't have any key and you don't know how to find the key here, as you can generate this is going to be generated by this specific switch, and it is used for this specific switch as well. The same as DSA. Let's say DSA, you can create a DSA as well. This is the DSA for authentication, authorization, accounting. If you want to use this one, so this is the usage. You can find whatever information you want to do for this specific feature. The same as with the key. So this is the admin. You have to download it. You have to grab it from your file. Let's say I want to save granted. Let's copy and save it. So if you want to save it in any file in here, you can use it as well. So this is the main purpose. Generate in here, use it in here. Let's say Voice VLAN. We have a specific portion for Voice VLAN. Now we can say Voice VLAN is 200. So I have a one VLAN which is 200, and that's for Voice VLAN. Security, I will keep it secure, and let's say save. I save it. Interface, if I come to the interface, I will say port number. We can assign on trunk port. That's it. Long story short, we can assign on trunk port. I would say auto. Enable this one. I will keep it as auto. So let's come back here. I will assign on port number 25 to enable. Beautiful. Port number 25 is auto. If I do the manual, then you can do the manual as well. But what happened? I would say auto to keep everything auto because my specific VLAN for Voice is 200. Okay, guys. Once we come to another portion, OUI, which is called Organization Unique Identifier. This is a specific identifying number for each voice over IP devices. For example, if you have a voice over IP handset on your desk, and if you just turn and see the back of that specific device, you will see that there is a MAC address. The MAC address is that the address that will specify that specific device. For example, that is the only device that comes with that specific MAC address, which does not conflict with any network device in your office. All right, let's add one of those devices. For example, I have one voice over IP in here. So the OUI address is 00. Just give me 1 second. E0 dot 0 F 5E. Make sure to find the proper MAC address, because if not, then it gives you an error. 22 F6. I think yes, it is 00E0 0 F5E. Sorry, it should be 5. It's not 5. F5E 0 F 5E22F6 22F6, and the mask is so this is whatever mask you name it, but you just make sure to I would say 4F dot 1234F dot 12340. The description is this is HR phone, or you can say voice over IP or phone. So you have to make sure the reason which we are doing these things is to specify which phone is belong to who. Let's say apply. Okay, there you go. This is how you can assign a telephone, unique telephone. Now I know that if I want to add or remove, if I want to do anything with this specific handset, I can do that because I have the all information about that specific we can say phone over IP. All right, we discuss about the interface, we discuss about the status, voice status. We create a VLAN for that specific voice as well. Restart. Here's the place where you can restart this switch as well. It's very simple. Just click restart, and this is how you can restart. In the next section, we're going to discuss about the network, MAC address routing, spanning tree protocol, IGP snooping, DCP relay authentication, everything. Let's see in the next lecture, guys.